Okay, keep going. Because for whatever reason, this phone has been just deciding that it's going to shut off from recording. It's a brand new phone. So, what are the length of days? Forever and ever. Well, that's a wonderful question. And the question to be answered is the life. What is the life? That's what we were talking about before I got distracted. The life is that you have bond with brother. Now, what does this look like? This looks like honest expression of the heart without hidden secrets. We talked about Matthew 5:23 in that if your brother holds something against you, it's not worded as if you hold something against your brother, but if your brother holds something against you, if there's something that you've wronged somebody with, because we forgive others their trespasses, and that we be forgiven for our trespasses. Now, we have to go make right with our brother. And this honest expression of heart that it's very difficult to apologize when you've wronged somebody. And that is the life. That is the ability to live when we're not weighed down in our heart with the wrongs that we've done on others. Length of days forever and ever. Through your deliverance, his esteem is great. You have laid excellency and splendor on him, for you have made him most blessed forever. You have made him glad with the joy of your presence. Psalm 19:8, the orders of Yahweh are straight, rejoicing the heart. Then you know where we're going in John. (17:13). And now I come to you, and I speak these words in the world, so that they have my joy completed in them. I have given them your word, and the world hated them, because they are not of the world, as I am not of the world. What is the joy? It's the bond. It's the bond. It's the bond. Bond with God. The bond with brothers. It's the bond. For you have made him most blessed forever. You have made him glad with the joy of your presence. What else? Love for your brother. True love for your brother. Sacrifice. Servitude. I lay down my life. Nobody takes it from me. I lay it down willingly. True love working definition of love is respect for and taking responsibility for another. The true love is the fact that your life is dependent upon their life. not codependency, because codependency is just needing one other person and you two are completely intertwined. Interdependency is relationally coming together among humans, among people, that while you physically depend on one another, the cross-stitching of your spirits ensure the need for the prosperity and clean heart of the other in order that your heart be kept clean. Because if you're wronging your brother, it's going to put him in a wrong state in order that he wrongs you, intentionally or unintentionally. You have laid excellency and splendor on him, for you have made him most blessed forever. You have made him glad with the joy of your presence, for the sovereign is trusting in Yahweh. And through the loving commitment of the Most High, he is not moved. Through the loving commitment of the Most High, he is not moved. The sovereign is trusting in Yahweh. And through the loving commitment of the Most High, he is not moved. We know from Psalm 10 that the proud of face and the wrongdoer thinks his ways are always prosperous and that there is no Elohim, and he says in his heart, I shall not be moved in verse 6. We want to be the unmoved that is a sovereign, unmoved against Yahweh. Right? So, how is this said here? For the sovereign is trusting in Yahweh, and through the loving commitment of the Most High, he is not moved. Meaning, you're so steadfast and strong and convicted in your belief that nobody can throw you off that kilter. There's another psalm that talks about not being moved that I'm just not seeing right now. Psalm 13:4. Lest my enemies say, I have prevailed against him, lest my adversaries rejoice when I am moved. Praise Yahweh for giving me that psalm. Hoping we find it. Okay, so the idea here being, be like a rock that nobody moves you. The wise man who built his house upon the rock. And whoever wishes to be first among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as ransom for many. Matthew 20:27, 28. And why, you might ask? Why, you might ask? There's pride and wrongness in desire to be first because it's selfish and it is not loving God and loving your neighbor. And so the perfection is through the ability to love selflessly and to lay down your life for your brother. And in being the servant, you show people your aptitude to care for their needs. Just like any job, right? Like if you're gonna go work at a restaurant, like I always make people wash dishes. Are you willing to wash dishes? Like I'm not gonna just let you, make pizzas. Are you willing to wash dishes? Is this really important to you? Is what we're doing here for a bigger cause in your eyes? Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But in order for me to be interdependent with you, intertwined with you, I need to know that you're devoted to this cause. And that you will be steadfast and not moved. This one I should know because we've read it so many times, but I could not think where it is. so I looked it up. Matthew 7:26. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not do them shall be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat on that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. Sorry, go back up to 24. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and does them shall be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rain came down, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, and it did not fall, for its foundation, for it was founded on the rock. Which we found at the end of Psalm 19, verse 14. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing before you, O Yahuwah, my rock and my redeemer. It's also in Isaiah 26:4. Trust in Yahuwah forever, for in Yahuwah is a rock of ages. The rock. We're going to talk a lot about the rock today. Your hand reaches all your enemies. Your right hand reaches those who hate you. You make them as a furnace of fire, the time of your presence. Okay, if we go back up to Psalm 26, with the saving might of his right hand, how does he save with his right hand? Because his right hand reaches those who hate Elohim. So if we're walking in the path of Elohim, he's going to reach out and smite anybody who tries to smite us with his right hand. Saving and destruction of our enemies. Completely intertwined. Yet codependent. Because they're synonymous. So I think that's more codependent. You make them as a furnace of fire in the time of your presence. Yahuwah does swallow them up in his wrath, and fire does consume them. Well, we know from 1 Corinthians 3. And if anyone builds on this foundation, house founded on the rock, Matthew 7:24. And if anyone builds on this foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work shall be revealed, for the day shall show it up, because it is revealed by fire. And the fire shall prove the work of each one, what sort it is. If anyone's work remains which he has built on, he shall receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned, he shall suffer loss. But he himself shall be saved, so as through fire. But do you not know that you are a dwelling place of Elohim, and that the Spirit of Elohim dwells in you? You are the reason for the furnace of fire in the time of his presence. He wants you to be refined. Revelation 3. Because you say, rich I am, and I am made rich, and need none at all, and do not know that you are wretched, and pitiable, and poor, and blind, and naked, I advise you to buy from me gold refined in the fire, so that you become rich, and white garments, so that you become dressed, so that the shame of your nakedness might not be shown, and anoint your eyes with ointment, so that you see. As many as I love, I reprove and discipline, so be ardent and repent. See, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I shall come in to him and dine with him, and he be with me. And he with me. To him who overcomes, I shall give to sit with me on the throne, as I also overcame and sat down with my Father on his throne. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the assemblies. You destroy their fruit among the earth, and their seed from among the sons of men. Yeah, enemies of the Most High. For they held out evil against you. They devised a plot, they do not prevail. For you make them turn their back. When you aim with your bowstring toward their faces, be exalted, O Yahweh, in your strength. We sing and we praise your might. We sing and we praise your might. Aim your bowstring toward their faces. The bow. We've seen a lot of bow and arrows. For look, the wrong bend of bow, they set their arrow on the string. Psalm 11. To shoot in darkness at the upright in heart. When the foundations are destroyed. And this is precision. The archer is a warrior of precision, not a warrior of slaughter. Which holds me in Revelation 6, verse 2, and I looked and saw a white horse, and he who sat on holding a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out overcoming and to overcome. This is the first seal. The bow. The bow. You aim with your bowstring toward their faces. Accuracy. Precision. Going to go to the rest of the room. All right, now, fortunately, we have another psalm to do, which is all about Messiah. So buckle up your boots. My El, why have you forsaken me? Matthew 27:46. Keep a bookmark here because we're going to be in this for a minute. And about the 9th hour, Yeshua cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my El, why have you forsaken me? That's the way this starts out. This is the end and the beginning of this prophecy of Messiah. Far from saving me, far from the words of my groaning. Verse 50, and Yeshua cried out again with a loud voice and gave up his spirit. It's funny, I've never actually heard anybody recommend Mark as a read, especially not like How to Know Messiah. And I heard it for the first time the other day. Mark 15:37, and Yeshua cried out with a loud voice and breathed his last. What I was looking at was I thought that toward the end of his life he groaned. Let's go to verse 2. O my Elohim, I call by day, but you do not answer, and by night, but I find no rest. Yet you are set apart, enthroned on the praises of Yisrael. Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and you delivered them. They cried to you and were delivered. They trusted in you and were not ashamed. That right there is huge in this. They trusted in you and were not ashamed. Sometimes we feel like we're let down by God and we just have to keep trusting in Him, but there's also some times where we have to change our ways and do something a little different. And you gotta know what that is and how to do it and listen to Him. Enthroned on the praises of Yisrael. Wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, we glorify Him. We as Yisrael. They trusted in you and were not ashamed. But I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men and despised by the people. All those who see me mock me. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head, saying, He trusted in Yahuwah, let Him rescue him, let Him deliver him, seeing He has delighted in him. So, I am a worm and no man. It is somewhere else. It's 3 times in Mark 9, so let's go there because I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how this works out. Okay. Mark 9:40, let's start at. For he who is not against us is for us. For whoever gives you a cup of water to drink in my name because you are of Messiah, truly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. And whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it is better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. And if your hand makes you stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having 2 hands, to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and their fire is not quenched. And if your foot makes you stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having 2 feet, to be thrown into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your eye makes you stumble, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter into the reign of Elohim with 1 eye than having 2 eyes, to be thrown into the fire of Gehenna, where their worm does not die and their fire is not quenched. For everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering shall be seasoned with salt. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall you season it? Have salt in yourselves, and be at peace among one another. So this is from Isaiah 66:24, this whole worm thing. So we're definitely going to go there because it said 3 times about this worm quenched in fire. And so I'm going to start at Isaiah 66:19. And I shall set a sign among them, and shall send some of those who escape to the nations, Tarshish and Pul and Lud, who draw the bow, and Tubal and Yawan, the coastlands afar off, who have not heard my report nor seen my esteem, and they shall declare my esteem among the nations. And they shall bring all your brothers as an offering to Yahuwah out of the nations, on horses and in chariots and in litters, on mules and on camels, to my set-apart mountain Yerushalayim, declares Yahuwah. as the children of Israel bring an offering in a clean vessel into the house of Yahweh. And from them too I shall declare for priests, for Levites, declares Yahweh. For as the new heavens and the new earth that I make stand before me, declares Yahweh, so your seed and your name shall stand. And it shall be that from new moon to new moon and from Sabbath to Sabbath all flesh shall come to worship before me, declares Yahweh. And they shall go forth and look upon the corpses of the men who have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, and their fire shall not be quenched, and their fire not be quenched, and they shall be repulsive to all flesh. There's another place where we see the worm that I can't think of right now. Wow, there's actually quite a few worms. Okay, so if we look at some other examples, Jonah 4:7 and Exodus 6:24, the worm is basically a parasite. I am a parasite and no man. They look at me as a leech on them, as opposed to a benefit to them. Their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. Because this is talking about the context of Gehenna being thrown in the pits of hell, where basically if they're thrown into Gehenna and they don't right their wrongs on earth, that worm, that parasite that's making them die instead of having everlasting life, will not itself die, and the fire that is Mark 9:45, and if your foot makes you stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having 2 feet to be thrown into Gehenna, into unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. The fire is not quenched. The fire does not stop the burning. There's a constant, it's a perpetual degree of having to go through that furnace and be refined in the fire. And it never works because you won't kill that parasite in you that is holding on to your stumbling block. So, I am a worm and no man. He is saying that he's looked at it as a parasite and not a prosperity. A reproach of men and despised by all the people. Yeah, we know that. All those who see me mock me. Matthew 27:29, and plaiting a crown of thorns, they put it on his head, and a reed in his right hand, and they kneeled down before him and mocked him, saying, Greetings, sovereign of the Yehudim. They shoot out the lip, they shake the head, saying, He trusted in Yahuwah, let him rescue him. Let him deliver him, seeing he has delighted in him. So, Matthew 27:43, he trusted in Elohim, let him rescue him now if he desires him. Continuing on 22:7, verse 39. And those passing by were blaspheming him, shaking their heads and saying, You who destroy the dwelling place and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the son of Elohim, come down from the stake. For you are the one who took me out of the womb, causing me to trust while on my mother's breast. Yeah, we don't see Yeshua being weaned here, necessarily. We're going to move on from that. But I am thinking about the beginning of verse 9. You are the one who took me out of the womb. If we look at the virgin birth, we're gonna get graphic here. So if you're not ready for that, then here's your warning. The virgin birth, the blood is a sign of a covenant. Deuteronomy 12 and 15. Go to 15:23. Pour it on the ground like water. 12:16. So let's do Deuteronomy 12:23. Only be strong not to eat the blood, for the blood is the life. Do not eat the life with the meat. Do not eat it, you pour it on the earth like water. Do not eat it, that it might be well with you and your children after you, when you do what is right in the eyes of Yahweh. So, going into the virgin birth, the not knowing a man, the blood of the virginity goes to the man once she knows a man, but her blood was perfectly clean, never knowing a man, giving birth. So her blood was only full of life. Yeah. Birth them in life. Birth them in life. Deuteronomy 22:20. Okay. Deuteronomy 22:13. When any man takes a wife, and shall go into her, and shall hate her, and shall make abusive charges against her, and bring an evil name on her, and say, I took this woman, and when I came to her, I did not find her a maiden, then the father and mother of the young woman shall take and bring the proof of the girl's maidenhood to the elders of the city at the gate. And the girl's father shall say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as wife, and he hates her. And see, he has made abusive charges against her, saying, I did not find your daughter a maiden, yet these are the proofs of my daughter's maidenhood. And they shall spread the garment before the elders of the city, and the elders of the city shall take that man and punish him. And find him 100 pieces of silver, and give them to the father of the young woman, because he has brought an evil name on a maiden of Israel. And she is to be his wife. He is not allowed to put her away all his days. But if the matter is true, that the girl was not found a maiden, then they shall bring out the girl to the door of the father's house, and the men of the city shall stone her to death with stones, because she has done wickedness in Israel, to whore in her father's house. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. When a man is found lying with a woman married to a husband, then both of them shall die, both the man that lay with the woman and the woman. Thus you shall purge the evil from your midst. Okay, we're going to stop there, because basically what we end up with here is that if there's proof of the maidenhood, if the woman was a maiden, then she is to be his wife. He is not allowed to put her away all his days. If she is not a maiden, then the woman is killed. Death. Then she gets death. But if she is a maiden, he hates her. Abusive charges. He's brought an evil name to her. Find him 100 pieces of silver, and give them to the father of the young woman. Yeah, because Yeshua has everlasting life. He was never corrupted by a man, because his birth was from a maiden who never knew a man, so he never made the charges of evil accusation. He never sinned in his heart. He never made an evil accusation charge. Wow. How deep can we go in all of this perfection? Yeah. Praise Yahweh. All from the blood of life. I was cast upon you from birth. From my mother's belly you have been my El. Do not be far from me, for distress is near, for there is none to help. Matthew. Matthew 26:53. Or do you think that I am not able to pray to my Father now, and he shall provide me with more than 12 legions of messengers? How then would the scriptures be filled that it has to be this way? Strong ones of Bashan have encircled me. They have opened their mouths against me. Giants. They have opened their mouths against me. They have witnessed against him. Matthew 26:65. Then the high priest tore his garment, saying, He has blasphemed. Why do we need any more witnesses? See, now you have heard his blasphemy. Verse 64, Yeshua said to him, You have said it, because I say to you, from now on you shall see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power, and coming on the cloud of the heavens. They have opened their mouths against me, as a raging and roaring lion, the Lion of Yehuda. But as a raging and roaring lion, just going after like a lion. I have been poured out like water, and all my bones have been spread apart. My heart has become like wax. It has melted in the midst of my inward parts. It has melted in the midst of my inward parts. His heart is not hard at all. No hardness of heart. Wow, Yeshua. My bones have been spread apart. I can only think of Ezekiel 37 here, and the hand of Yahweh was upon me, and took me out by the Spirit of Yahweh, and set me down in the midst of the valley. and it was filled with bones. And he made me pass among them, all around, and see, there were very many on the surface of the valley, and see, they were very dry. And he said to me, Son of man, would these bones live? And I said, O Master Yahweh, you know. And again he said to me, Prophesy to these bones, and you shall say to them, O dry bones, hear the word of Yahweh. Thus said the Master Yahweh to these bones, See, I am bringing into you a spirit, and you shall live. And I shall put sinews on you, and bring flesh upon you, and cover you with skin, and put a spirit in you, and you shall live. And you shall know that I am Yahweh. And I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I prophesied there was a noise, and there was a rattling, and the bones came together, bone to bone. And I looked, and I saw sinews and flesh came upon them, and skin covered them, but there was no spirit in them. He said to me, Prophesy to the spirit, prophesy, Son of man, and you shall say to the spirit, Thus said the Master Yahweh, Come from the four winds, O spirit, and breathe on these killed ones so that they live. And I prophesied as he commanded me, and the spirit came into them, and they lived and stood upon their feet, a very great army. And he said to me, Son of man, these bones are all the house of Yisrael. See, they say, Our bones are dry, our expectancy has perished, and we ourselves have been cut off. Therefore prophesy, and you shall say to them, Thus said the Master Yahweh, See, O my people, I am opening your burial sites, and shall bring you up from your burial sites, and shall bring you into the land of Israel. And you shall know that I am Yahweh, when I open your burial sites, my people, and bring you up from your burial sites. And I shall put my spirit in you, and you shall live, and I shall settle you in your own land. And you shall know that I, Yahweh, have spoken, and I have done it, declares Yahweh. So, in the my bones have been spread apart. His people, Israel. They've been scattered. They've been scattered. They're coming together. My strength is like a potsherd, is dried like a potsherd, and my tongue is cleaving to my jaws, and to the dust of death you are appointing me. For dogs have surrounded me, a crowd of evil ones have encircled me, piercing my hands and my feet. And when they, Matthew 27:31, and when they had mocked him, they took the robe off him, and then put his own garments on him, and led him away to be impaled. And as they were going out, they found a man of Cyrene, Shimon by name. They compelled him to bear his stake. And when they came to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him wine mixed with bile to drink, and after tasting it, he would not drink it. Impaled the stake, pierced my feet and my hands. Isaiah 53:5, but he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our crookednesses. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. I count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. his bones, the dead in Yisrael. My bones have been spread apart. Yisrael has been divided. Living waters. He is the living waters. He is the his being poured out like water. We're not gonna. Maybe in a minute. I count all my bones. They look, they stare at me. They divided my garments among them, and for my remaint they cast lots. Matthew 27:35, and having impaled him, they divided his garments, casting lots, that it might be filled what was spoken by the prophet. They divided my garments among them, and casted my clothing for my clothing they cast lots. Isaiah 53:6, we all like sheep went astray, each one of us has turned his own way, and Yahweh has laid on him the crookednesses of us all. As a root out of dry ground, dry bones. Isaiah 52, awake, awake, put on your strength, O Zion, put on your garments of splendor, O Jerusalem, the set-apart city, for no more do the uncircumcised and the unclean come into you. Shake yourself from the dust, arise and sit down. O Jerusalem, loose yourself from the bonds of your neck, O captive daughter of Zion. For thus said Yahweh, you have been sold for naught, and you were redeemed not with silver. For thus said the Master Yahweh, at first my people went down into Mitzrayim to sojourn there, and I sure oppressed them without cause. And now, what have I here, declares Yahweh, that my people are taken away for naught? Those who rule over them make them wail, declares Yahweh, and my name is despised all day continually. Therefore my people shall know my name in that day, for I am the one who is speaking, see, it is I. But you, O Yahweh, do not be far off. O my strength, hasten to help me. Deliver my life from the sword, my only life from the power of the dog. Been surrounded by dogs. Revelation 22:14. Blessed are those doing his commands, so that the authority shall be theirs unto the tree of life, and to enter through the gates into the city. But outside are the dogs, and those who enchant with drugs, and those who whore, and the murderers, and the idolaters, and all those who love and do falsehood. I, Yeshua, have sent my messenger to witness to you these matters in the assemblies. I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright and morning star. Deliver my only life from the power of the dog. Save me from the mouth of the lion, and from the horns of the wild beasts. Deliver my life from the sword, the warfare, the bloodlust, deliver my life from the bloodlust, my only life from the power of the dog. What are the dogs? The dogs are male whores, male prostitutes, in that spiritual idolatry is whoring. And so, how perfect is Yeshua that he doesn't even murder with his heart? He does not have bloodlust, and he does not do spiritual idolatry. Save me from the mouth of the lion. The mouth, the word of Yehuda, but that he be in the word of Yahweh, and from the horns of the wild beasts, the horns of the wild beast, the horns are the authority of unrighteous ones, savages, those who desire not perfection, but their own authority. They wield their horn. You have answered me. Yeah. Yeah, he does. I make known your name to my brothers. Yes, he does answer him because he gives him the life, the everlasting life. He resurrects him. He walks Yeshua through not succumbing to all the BS that's going on in Israel at that time. I make known your name to my brothers. In the midst of the assembly, I praise you. Yeah. What is it? Matthew 3, I think it is. Luke 3. Luke 4:16. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and according to his practice he went into the congregation on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. According to his practice. John 10:35, if he called them Elohim, to whom the word of Elohim came, and it is impossible for the scripture to be broken, do you say of him whom the Father set apart and sent into the world, you are blaspheming, because I said I am the Son of Elohim? If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, so that you know and believe that the Father is in me, and I in him. Therefore they were seeking again to seize him, but he went forth out of their hand, and went once more to the other side of the yard, into the place where Yohanan was immersing at first, and there he stayed. And many came to him and said, Yohanan indeed did no sign. Yet all that Yohanan said about this man was true, and many believed in him there. I make known your name to my brothers. You who fear Yahweh, praise him. All you seed of Jacob, esteem him, and fear him, all you seed of Yisrael. For he has not despised, nor hated the affliction of the afflicted. Yeah. My heart melts away like wax. Virgin birth. He is not despised, his heart was clean, nor hated the affliction of the afflicted. He reaches out and touches the leper. If we go to Mark 5. Mark 1. Mark 1:40. And a leper came to him, calling upon him, kneeling down to him, and saying to him, if you desire, you are able to make me clean. And Yeshua, moved with compassion, stretched out his hand and touched him, and said to him, I desire it be cleansed. And immediately the leper left him, and he was cleansed. And having strictly warned him, he immediately sent him away. So, this is the Yeshua, moved with compassion, stretched out his hand and touched him. You can't touch a leper. They are unclean. And so he would have been treated like he had the plague, because he did have the plague at this time in Israel. And so he... What? Okay. Alright, it's okay. Alright. So, he had basically the plague. He was unclean. He was untouchable. He had no human contact. Yeshua reaches out and touches him. And there you go. Nor hated the affliction of the afflicted, nor has he concealed his face from him. Okay. And this one is a reference from Genesis 3, verse 8, and they heard the voice of Yahweh Elohim walking about in the garden toward the wind of the day, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Yahweh Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Yahweh called unto Adam and said to him, where are you? nor has he concealed his face from him. He had nothing to be ashamed of. He was perfect. But when he cried to him, he heard. From you is my praise in the great assembly. I pay my vows before those who fear him. Okay. Well, what's going on here, you might say? But when he cried to him, he heard. From you is my praise in the great assembly. I pay my vows before those who fear him. I pay my vows for those who fear him. This is verse 25. Let's see, what do we have here? I will praise you in the large congregation. I will pay my vows before those who fear him. So, essentially what we're saying here is that I am faithful. Okay, so, but he cried to him, when he cried to him, he heard. He hears Yeshua. In Luke 22:41, and he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, and falling on his knees he was praying, saying, Father, if it be your counsel, remove this cup from me. Yet not my desire, but let yours be done. And there appeared a messenger from heaven to him, strengthening him. There appeared a messenger to him. When he cried to him, he heard. From you is my praise in the great assembly. John 17:22, and the esteem which you gave me I have given them, so that they might be one as we are one, I in them and you in me, so that they may be perfected into one, so that the world knows that you have sent me, and have loved them as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those you have given me might be with me where I am, so that they see my esteem which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. O righteous Father, indeed, the world did not know you, but I knew you, and these knew that you sent me. And I have made your name known to them, and shall make it known, so that the love with which you loved me might be in them, and I in them. From you is my praise in the great assembly. I pay my vows before those who hear him. For this one, we have to go to the end.
Revelation 21:9. And one of the 7 messengers who held the 7 bowls filled with the 7 last plagues came to me and spoke with me, saying, Come, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the set apart Jerusalem, descending out of the heaven from Elohim, having the esteem of Elohim. And her light was like a most precious stone, like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and having a great and high wall, having 12 gates, and at the gates 12 messengers, and the names written on them, which are those of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, 3 gates on the south, and 3 gates on the west. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 emissaries of the Lamb. And he who spoke with me had a golden measuring rod to measure the city and its gates and its walls. Revelation 21:2. This is the verse I was looking for. And I, Yohanan, saw the set-apart city, renewed Jerusalem, coming down out of the heaven from Elohim, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Okay. I pay my vows before those who fear him, for those written in the Lamb's book of life. Revelation 1:27, and there, so we get the New Jerusalem in 21:1, 21:2. It's prepared as a bride for her husband. 21:9, the 7 messengers come and say, I shall show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. 21:27. And there shall by no means enter into it whatever is unclean, neither anyone doing abomination and falsehood, but only those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. I pay my vows before those who fear him. The meek ones do eat and are satisfied. Let those who seek him praise Yahuwah. Let your heart live forever. Okay, what are we doing here? Everlasting life. Blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, because they shall be filled. Matthew 5:5 and 5:6. Matthew 7:14, because the gate is narrow and the way is hard pressed, which leads to life, and there are few who find it. Let the heart live forever. The heart. He teaches us the heart condition. We talked about this in Matthew 5. We talked about it today in Matthew 5. And how, if then you bring your gift to the slaughter place, and there remember that your brother holds whatever against you, leave your gift there before the slaughter place and go. First make peace with your brother, and then come and offer your gift. The virgin birth, the fact that he had no sin of man in him. I don't know how much clearer I can make this. Let all the ends of the earth return and turn to Yahuwah, and all the clans of the nations bow themselves before you. Solomon's prayer.